Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into a 2026 World Cup match that left fans completely stunned. I mean, imagine waiting decades for a massive moment, only to watch it completely unravel before you can even catch your breath. That's exactly what went down in the clash between Scotland and Morocco at Gillette Stadium. This wasn't one of those games decided by a frantic late-game scramble or some grueling penalty shootout. No, this was decided in the absolute blink of an eye. Literally, before some fans had even made it back from the concession stands. 70 seconds. That is the exact amount of time it took for Morocco's Ismael Saibari to absolutely shatter Scotland's momentum. Just 1 minute and 10 seconds into the match. Before the 64,000-plus fans in Foxborough had even settled into their seats, the entire trajectory of Group C was just violently altered. Let's dive right into Section 1, the lightning bolt, the anatomy of a 70-second disaster. So, how did it happen? Well, it unfolded in 3 devastatingly quick steps. First off, Brahim Diaz receives the ball in midfield and launches this brilliant, diagonal lofted through ball toward the right side. Second, and here's the fatal flaw, Scotland defender Grant Hanley makes a critical error. He tries to step up, to set the offside trap, but it completely misses the timing, leaving Ismael Saibari wide open and completely onside. And finally, Saibari controls the ball on the dead run with a single touch, doesn't hesitate for a microsecond, and unleashes this thunderous, angled strike right into the top left corner. Scotland's goalkeeper, Angus Gunn, literally stood no chance. It was flawless execution by Morocco, meeting a fatal defensive lapse from Scotland. And guys, this single explosive play shattered a whole cascade of historic records. Right at the 1 minute and 10-second mark, this became the fastest goal of the 2026 World Cup up to that point. But honestly, even crazier, it became the earliest winning goal in a 1-0 match in the entire history of the World Cup. Unbelievable. It also cemented Saibari as the very first Moroccan player to score in consecutive World Cups. Plus, with Brahim Diaz providing the assist, just like he did for Saibari previously, they officially became only the second African pair in history to assist and score together in multiple World Cups. Talk about a dynamic duo. Moving on to Section 2, the pre-match stakes, a 28-year dream versus elite reality. To really wrap your head around this heartbreak, we have to look at the massive mismatch in pedigree. The Tartan Army had literally painted Boston blue and yellow, dreaming of their first knockout stage in 28 years after coming off a solid 1-0 win over Haiti. But the reality? Well, it was daunting. You've got Morocco, ranked 5th in the world, an absolute proven elite force on the global stage, against Scotland, ranked 40th, carrying the immense weight of that 28-year drought. Furthermore, Morocco had a bit of a psychological edge, right? They famously beat Scotland 3-0 back in the 1998 tournament. So even though Scotland actually altered their tactics to a defensive back 5 for this matchup, that massive global ranking gap ultimately dictated the entire game. And speaking of elite pedigree, let's talk about the man of the hour, 63 million euros. That is Ismael Saibari's reported transfer value as he's being targeted by Bayern Munich. And honestly, when you watch a guy score against Brazil and then follow it right up with a 70-second match winner against Scotland, that massive price tag makes total sense. We are watching a world-class talent prove himself right before our eyes. Okay, Section 3, tactical breakdown. Why exactly couldn't Scotland respond? So, Morocco snags that crazy early lead. That means Scotland had 89 minutes, 89 whole minutes, to find an equalizer. So why couldn't they do it? Just pause for a second and let this devastating reality sink in. 0. Throughout the entire match, despite desperately needing a goal to keep those knockout dreams comfortable, Scotland recorded exactly 0 shots on target. Not one. What's really fascinating here is just how completely Scotland's usual midfield engine broke down. Their first half expected goals, or XG, was a genuinely dismal 0.2. Scott McTominay, who is usually their absolute powerhouse, was, well, almost entirely anonymous. He barely touched the ball in dangerous areas, and you could tell he was visibly furious, literally yelling at his teammates during a hydration break. John McGinn was trying, making some forward runs, but the final product was just entirely lacking. Even when coach Steve Clark brought on strikers like Ben Gown and Doak and Liam Dykes in the second half, that quality final delivery just wasn't there. There was some late drama when McTominay went down in the box begging for a penalty, but the ref just waved it right off, without even a VAR check. Rough break. And the harsh truth is, while Scotland was failing to mount any sort of attack, Morocco was actively threatening to put the game to bed. In the 50th minute, Bilal El-Khanous delivered this incredibly sharp cutback, and Saibari struck the ball straight into the post. Honestly, it was a massive let-off for Scotland. Make no mistake, Morocco was actually way closer to doubling their lead than Scotland ever was to finding an equalizer. I mean, goalkeeper Angus Gunn didn't even have to make a single save in the first half because Scotland simply couldn't force the issue on the other end. And this brilliantly illustrates the overall story of the match right here. Morocco didn't just score early and park the bus, they controlled the tempo entirely. They held 54% possession compared to Scotland's 39%, they outshot Scotland 12-6, and crucially, they had 2 shots on target compared to Scotland's absolute 0. It was total control. But hey, if you really want to know exactly how dominant Morocco was in dictating the rhythm of this game, just look at this number, 601. That is the staggering number of passes Morocco completed during this single match. To put that into perspective, completing 601 passes is the most by any African team in a World Cup match since records began all the way back in 1966. That is huge. This passing masterclass just proves that Morocco isn't just some strong defensive unit. They are a highly technically sophisticated powerhouse. They're completely capable of neutralizing an opponent by simply keeping the ball away from them. Classic keep away, but played at the highest possible level. All right, let's wrap up with Section 4, Group C Survival, the mountain left to climb. So after that final whistle blew and the Tartan army watched in stunned silence, what does this actually mean for the tournament moving forward? Well, here's the stark reality of the Group C standings right now. You've got Brazil and Morocco sitting comfortably at the top as the clear contenders with 4 points each. Haiti is at the absolute bottom with 0 points, meaning they've been eliminated. And then there's Scotland, sitting right there in the middle on 3 points. So their 28-year dream of reaching the knockout stage isn't technically dead, but guys, it is hanging by the absolute thinnest of threads. To survive and advance, Scotland now faces a near impossible task. They have to somehow, some way, find a result in their final group match against arguably the most formidable team on the entire planet, Brazil, a team that's currently sitting at the top of the group themselves. So I want to turn it over to you. Can Scotland fix their broken midfield, finally find their shooting boots, and pull off an absolute miracle against Brazil? Or did Saibari's 70-second lightning bolt permanently end their historic World Cup run? Let me know your predictions, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.